No, I haven't.
You don't know who Fancy Chef
Is that the new one?
Fancy Chef is a guy on Instagram.
Okay.
You haven't seen him?
What does he do?
I'm gonna show you one of these.
Okay, let's do it. Fancy Chef. Here we go.
Fancy Chef 2013.
That's why we need a Jamie. Jamie, pull up Fancy Chef. We are in Austin.
Damn it. This guy.
Oh, I have seen him. Yo, I just started seeing this dude. Is he a legit chef?
I don't know, but he'll say, I'm gonna put it here. So
Here's the thing.
See, they need to be the most answer to the chef is
Because I heard.
he'll say, pay attention, call me at this, right? So it's on he was on Tom Segura's podcast. I've been following him for a while.
Yeah.
And I've been watching. I was like, I don't know if this guy's trolling.
You don't know if he's actually a chef?
No, I'm pretty sure he's a chef. I just don't know if he's a good chef or not.
Right.
But I don't know if he's putting on an act.
Mm.
Because every now and then he'll leave little clues like he's messing with people, right? Because I mess with people too, subtly. And so I see some of my habits in him.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, most of the ways that I'm messing with people get lost on 99% of the people that I'm messing with. But the person that it's for them, they know.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that little Easter egg was a direct shot at, or like it was intended for this one person, right?
Yeah.
And I see him doing a lot of those same tactics. So I'm like, maybe he's playing the character, but he's a content creator that I started following, and it's like, I don't know how many followers he has now. It's probably close to 100,000 in a short period of time. And he's, I doubt he's buying them, because obviously people know you can buy followers. Right?
Yeah.
I doubt he's buying them. But then I look at other content creators that have millions of followers, and I'm like, they're getting crushed by this guy.
Mm.
Like they're getting crushed by this guy that can't cook, making bad food, telling everyone to call him. He's hanging up on them.
Right.
And it's like he's making, it's like a train wreck that you just can't stop watching.
Right.
And I think about the way that the industry's going, and AI is taking over, social media is changing everything. People that are coming into kitchens now aren't necessarily coming in because they want to be chefs. They're coming in because they want to learn how to cook so they can make better videos.
Right.
Right. So it's just a different approach.
For sure.
When I was still a chef, I remember someone had come through the kitchen and they're like, well, I'm more successful than you. And I'm like, how do you figure that? They're like, well, I got more followers. I was like, oh, yeah, but followers, like,
Yeah. How many proteges do you have, you fuck?
right. But,
But
in their mind, that's how they're measuring success. Right. So I see the industry changing, and I'm like, I see people like Fancy Chef, and we're talking about your podcast, and you're giving out the number. And I'm just curious, like, the way that the food world is going. Like, I've seen a lot of really good chefs transition into things that I don't think were options 10 years ago.
Yeah, definitely not.
You know what I mean? Like what we're doing.
Right.
Or I know really good chefs now that are just, doing private catering pop-ups and, cooking out of their backyard. Or it's like, that wasn't a real thing. I mean, maybe it was a thing, but now it's like you got legit chefs that are doing that no longer want to be attached to a brick and mortar, or they just do the traveling pop-up show or content creation. And, if you have the right look and you have the right ability to captivate an audience, you could have millions of followers, and you got brand deals coming in after that. I mean, I was thinking, like, years ago, it's like chefs should look like NASCAR drivers, like
100%. Yeah.
Sponsored.
And I mean, that's how they looked back in the day.
Right?
CEC, CCC, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you should say, like, this would be the ideal state for chefs, I think. It's like, you got a big enough name in the restaurant says, you know what, I can't pay you that. I can't pay you what you're worth, and I'm sorry, but there's numbers that we got to make.
Yeah.
Right? I can only pay you $50,000 a year. That's a shit salary for an executive chef.
100%.
But I allow you to go get all the sponsorships you want.
That's dope.
And so now you can have supplemental income. You're a chef. You're the executive chef of this restaurant. You say, you know what? Sponsored by Rationale and so such olive oil and this pan company. And you walk around and you say, hey, look, I'm a chef and I'm sponsored by all these brands. So we got to buy X olive oil. We got to buy X flour. So you're going to save a little bit of money on my salary, but these are the non-negotiable brands that we have to buy from. And so I think chefs should start thinking about deals like that.
Yeah,
I think people should, like, sponsors also start thinking about sponsoring chefs.
Yeah, like like athletes,
Yes.
you know, and we are always the last industry to catch on the trend. Now we're on YouTube. So took 15 years. It's like, what are we doing? Why do we always hate on new shit? Like, chefs love to hate on new innovative shit. I don't want to do that. That's stupid.
Right.
You're going to be forced to do it, whether you like it or not. So you might as well hop on the boat.
Be early.
Yeah. Like, you remember when we went through the ceramics phase? Everybody started making their own plates. Everything started being ceramic.
Yeah.
I'm sure the guys who use China were like, that'll never make it. Now you have people who build their entire livelihood and career based off of plates they make for restaurants.
Right.
Fuck out of here. So the chef always thinks he knows more than he knows.
Right.
Or she knows, right? And so I think that's where we always suffer. We need to take a step back, look at all these different industries, sports, music, right? Music, beef, rap beef, that sells.
Yeah.
If I have a fried chicken restaurant, you're my chef friend, you got a fried chicken restaurant? Guess what? I'm going online and saying your fucking fried chicken sucks.
It's like the restaurant in Detroit.
Yeah.
There's two right next to each other.
You beefing. But you're selling product.
Beef sells.
Exactly.
Yeah, Mike Tyson
It's
slapped
like-
Jake Paul.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone watched.
Yeah. Feelings or fortune.
Yeah.
Which one do you want? Are you going to be on your deathbed and be like, you know, I can't afford this treatment? You know, or are you going to be like, I should have, you know, whatever. You look back on your life, like there's only one thing that's going to get you to be a great chef, and it's not people's feelings, bro.
So here's my question. We're solving the chef problems today. all the chef
everything.
problems in the world we're going to
That's
solve.
right.
How do chefs make more money? Chefs, not
Yeah.
cooks. So chefs leading kitchen. How do they get more money in their job?
I mean, sponsorship, as you said, is a great one. I think the problem right now is money. Making money, especially as a restaurant chef, is almost impossible. In fact, I think all of the people who are running 2 or 3 stars, the owners, they got fuck you money. They don't need that restaurant to make money. You know, they have other business ventures that make them the big chunk of their living money. And that's sort of where we're moving. And then you were saying something about the fact that people that are less skilled but have more showmanship can get more success.
Yeah.
It's just a trend. Everything is a trend. So these people will not have longevity because if you have no training, it only gets you so far.
Right.
Some of these people will open restaurants and they will find out really quickly the reality check that they're going to receive once they do that. I also think that the U.S. government, like, we only have a certain amount of money to give around, you know, loans and shit. So it's like, you need to be qualified to open a restaurant. You can't just let anybody open a restaurant whenever, right? Because there's only so many restaurant spaces in the city, you know? And you got all these chefs out here who are actually really talented being private chefs because of the economics of restaurants. So we have to move forward, we have to make it more equitable, right? How I see doing that is making this YouTube money off of this podcast, right? So 10 years, 20 years from now, I can be a big money investor to the point where I'm like, I don't need to make money off of this. And taking a little bit of the, that I have to work as hard as possible until my fingers fall off to get success. Like right now, there's some sous chefs in restaurants that are ready to be a fucking executive chef, but no one gives them that chance because you read the resume and you're like, oh, well, you've only been a sous chef, right? So everybody's like in varying skill levels. We need to figure out a way to how to quantify your skills. You know, if you worked at Robuchon, that means in your lineage are all the chefs that worked for Robuchon or whatever it is. You should be able to like get paid based off of that.
But a lot of these guys that go through these restaurants and put it on the resume, it's like, I just walked through the door, I picked some time, I rolled it on a grate. Right, I rolled some time on a grate.
I've never seen that before. Crazy.
So I'm gonna go back, right? So I saw someone, a chef friend of mine, very respectful chef.
Yeah.
He said, get the thyme, put it in a mixer, and let it run with a paddle attachment. And then all the
stems just fall off.
Yeah.
That's a good one too.
I was like, I'd never seen that before. I tried. I was like, oh, it works. It saves you time picking time.
Yeah, literally.
I saw someone on your team doing with a grate the other day.
Yeah. Honestly, that's a great way to do it. And somebody came on the comments and be like, well, it's oxidized, chef. And it's like, people need to understand that there's different processes for everything, right?
Yeah.
I'm throwing that shit in a tomato sauce. The fuck do I care if it's black? I don't.
Right. It's not an individual time garnish on an intricate.
Right. And there's also time that you purchase specifically for garnish, right?
Yeah.
And here's another trick too. I know a lot of people out there are just like, oh yeah, just order time. No, when you order that time, you got to get really romantic on the phone with your rep and be like, I want the nicest, fattest stemmed, but a lot of leaves. Like, I don't want to have to work for 2 hours to get it up. Make that person laugh. Make the rep laugh.
Yeah.
You know, and convey to them how important it is for you to get the product that you need.
What were we talking about before we talked about time? We're on a rant.
We were running out of time, so we just, I don't know.
We were talking about something, and then I said, oh, let me talk.
Michelin podcasts.
We got off subject, and anyway,
it's all good. I like this because even though we're getting off subject and it maybe it feels awesome to me, but sometimes I do podcasts and they go like this and I'm like, this is not going to come out good. But then I listen to it after and I'm like, oh, gem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think we've had more gems than I've ever had in fucking an hour and 20 minutes.
Do you watch the show The Bear?
I do.
Did you like it?
I did like it.
Yeah.
I did like it.
Did you like as I was talking with Fermin about this, and I said I liked on season 3 the episode where he has like Thomas and Danielle, and he's like going through, he's in Noma.
Right.
I liked that episode.
Where Thomas Keller taught him how to trust a chicken. That hasn't happened in 20 years.
No, but
get the fuck out with that one.
But I liked that episode because I felt like that was the one I didn't have to hear Sydney and her boyfriend arguing.
Right.
I didn't have to deal with the mechanic guy.
Right.
Like, I didn't have to deal with it. Like, it was just like about
the chefs.
It's like what I do with chefs PSA is like, you know, early on I was more about like, make sure you do it this way. Now I don't do that as much for a reason. But that episode was like, it's all the things that I geek out about.
Yeah.
You know, it's all the things that I like about the kitchen. Like, he's scrubbing the floor and I'm like, there's something to me personally, I like Zen moments in the kitchen. Like,
definitely.
I like to zone out and making a perfect brunoise. And I feel like that episode was zoned out.
Was that, yeah.
Perfect brunoise.
Love that. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That, yeah.
It was just
it was so chefy that it taught every single aspect of being a chef, even the poor relationship he had with his prior mentor.
Right.
Which is rampant in our world.
Right.
There's a lot of embittered CDC and executive chefs with their old chef.
Yeah.
And it's great to see, like, when they get back together, get the band back together and do a dinner because, you know, like, oh, finally, they pushed it aside.
Yeah.
Right? And I just hope that anybody hearing this who's in that situation, especially the older chef, call the motherfucker, man. Call the motherfucker and be like, I was in a time and a place where I was attaining greatness.
Right.
No one. You think LeBron James is a nice person during finals? Fuck no. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, again, this feeling shit. Get the feelings out of here. I recently was applying for a chef job, and they asked me, like, you know, what would you do if an employee was feeling bad and maybe poisoning the well for others? And I'm like, first of all, feelings, those don't matter. Because if they did, we wouldn't even open the doors to the restaurant. We wouldn't even have put the effort in to open this place. So at a certain point, the feelings got to go out the window. And I always like to do this, you know, for intensive lineups at 3 stars or whatever. Apologize beforehand. So it's like wrestlers do, right? They know it's scripted, but they know they're going to hurt each other.
So it's so funny you say that. When I used to be that chef, I'm not that chef anymore.
Yeah.
But when I for a certain stretch, I was that chef.
Right.
And I would say, I apologize in advance.
Yeah.
For what I'm about to, how I'm about to act.
Exactly.
Later. When it gets ugly, I apologize. I don't mean it, but when I'm in the heat of the moment, I might behave in a way that I don't like about myself, but sometimes
to get it done, you got to get it there. That happened to me actually in my first pop-up. I remember the kid helping me,
Yeah.
and we were just about to start service, and I looked at him and I said, look, man, I'm going to say some shit to you that you're going to be like, if you think about it too hard, you will stop working for me and walk out, right? But it's not because I don't like you. It's because this is a hard game, and this is game 7, and I'm pushing us to win the championship. Right. And that's how I view every service. So if I say, you know, for example, like, just fucking put it on the plate, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That means that maybe that half a second where you're like, where does this flour go?
Doesn't matter.
The jolt
Yeah.
will make you fucking put it down, right?
Right.
Now we can get the damn plates out.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know?
Sometimes a lot of these chefs, like the kid that's scared to put the flour, we're like, you don't understand that paralysis that you have, like, you're overthinking it.
Yeah.
You're thinking it matters more than it really does.
Right.
And I need you to get out of, like, it matters more that the food is hot than the placement of that flour.
Right.
That it gets there in time. Right. I look at my relationship with every previous sous chef that I've had, and I love them all. I love.
I know you actually have a very exemplary, you know, and anybody that I've talked about, because I've vetted you, chef. I call motherfuckers. I was like, what you know about him? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they all have the same thing to say, and like, it's very rare for a chef that has had these proteges congratulate them when they get their chef position. You see it over and over again.
Yeah.
I'm like, where is X 3 Michelin star chef saying, hey, man, congratulations?
Right.
You know? And it's like, bro.
I love all my former chefs and sous chefs that have worked with me.
Yeah.
Even some that I don't keep in contact with as much as I'd like.
Right.
But I feel like if you were ever my sous chef and you called me up today, I'd be like, we could pick up right where we left off.
Fuck off.
I don't know if they feel the same way about me, but I know how I feel about them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know everything that we went through together. Like, I could not be in the place where I'm at had I not worked with some great people.
Yeah.
And I still maintain a lot of some of my ex-sous chef relationships are closer than others, naturally, right? You grow closer to certain people. But I truly love them all, and I respect all of them, and I wish them nothing but success. And sometimes it hurts me when I hear about, you know, the chef and the chef, like you're talking about, like, they don't have that good of a relationship anymore. It bothers me because it's like, man, you guys went to war together.
Yeah, at one point you did.
You guys went through it. They saw you. They saw you when you read that Yelp review and you were crying in the corner, right? Right. They know that day that you behaved badly in the kitchen and you felt bad about it afterwards. Like, they know things about you. They care about you, right? And you know things about, you know, their kids' names, and you know,
right. You've seen them at their worst.
You've seen them at their highs and their lows, and now you guys don't talk for like that. That kind of makes me sad. And it's like, to your point of CDCs or exec chefs, call your CDCs or heads, you know, whatever, right? But I also think CDCs call your head chefs.
Yeah.
Because
that's another thing, yeah.
Because, like, I'm just going to use myself as an example. I've probably promoted 50 to 100 executive chefs in my career.
Right.
Right? And when I look at it from their perspective, it's like, I'm making this number up, but let's just say for 5,000 people, they will always know me as chef.
Right.
Throughout the course of my career, when I've looked at all the operations I've run, all the 5,000 is probably exaggerating, but let's just say 1,000 people have worked for me in the course of my 27 years as a chef. Let's just say it's 1,000 people. Well, I'm chef to them. It's like, I can't call all of them.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
100.
There's a certain point where it's like, hey, there will only be one of me in your life.
Right. On the other side of that, I do feel like mentees, students sometimes put too much on their mentor, too much expectation.
Yeah.
Right. And the way I always thought about it was, you know, well, like, for example, Chef Costow gets up in the morning. He has 30 people that are more important than the CDC at the restaurant. As soon as he wakes up, he's got his kids, he's got his wife, he's got his mom, dad, blah, blah, blah. You know, so we need to give a little bit of leniency to our mentors and open up the conversation first about how it's going and where you're going and where you've been. 'Cause that's the problem. We never healed from these times.
Yeah.
You know, we'll either have a huge argument, the next day you're just like, you know, bring them a coffee, and then you never fucking talk about it again, and you just go in the day, you have a great service,
Right.
and then guess what? 2 weeks later, same shit, and you just never talked about it.
And
You know?
it says, people say it's things that they'll never remember and you'll never forget. They don't remember that they did that. Like, I did that? I said that? That doesn't sound like me. Sure.
Oh, it was you, motherfucker. Yeah.
You'll never forget it.
No,
You'll tell everyone the story,
for sure.
but to the person that's like, you know, and this is kind of fucked up, is like they'll go around and say, I work with so and so, and they did this, and they did this, and they did this, and you know, and then you ask so and so, hey, did you work? I don't even know that person. They don't even remember you.
Right.
They're like, oh, you came through my kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
I said that to you.
There's also like the crying wolf thing, right? Because there's the real, right, the real, and then there's the bitch ass,
Yeah.
who's like, you know, this is too hard, so I quit, but it's the chef's fault.
Right.
Chef made it too hard. No, it just is hard.
It is hard.
Inherently.
Yeah.
And
it's hard at a higher level. It gets harder.
oh yeah,
It does not get easier.
right. And you're more expendable at a higher level because you'll always hear it. Stack of resumes.
Right.
You got 14 people vying for your spot. And I remember when I first got to Meadowood, like, I was like, that motherfucker right there, that's my victim. I'm taking this job. That's what I needed to survive in that type of environment because all of these guys were striving for perfection.
I think that changed after
100%.
pandemic.
Yeah.
It flipped. It became
100.
The employees had the power.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we negotiate schedules now. I could do Thursdays off, sure. You know, oh, you got a pre-planned 5-week vacation? I think I could work with you. Right? Like shit that you would have never agreed to before.
Right. You agreed to it.
You're like, no, I got a stack of resumes. There's 100 of you out there. Now it's like, I got one resume and I am down 5 cooks.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
You know, the wild part about staging, too, I just did a stage a couple weeks ago. And I was grateful for this, but I only staged yeah.
People should be staging with you.
Well, no, here's the thing. Oh, okay. So I actually learned this lesson from Matt Abe, 3 Michelin star chef at Gordon Ramsay in UK.
Okay.
He came and staged.
Matt Abe.
Yeah, shout out Matt Abe, bro. He came and staged at Meadowood. He was the CDC of a 3-star.
Right.
And he staged like he was staging for a job. And I'm telling you, that shit has inspired him to this day.
Really?
Right? Yeah.
So he came out to Meadowood and just said,
He came out and said, yeah, he's like picking my herbs and I'm like correcting him and shit.
Yeah.
No ego whatsoever.
Really?
And I'm like, that right there is where we need to be.
This needs to be heard.
Oh, yeah,
Every
100%.
single person that, like this, what you just said,
Yeah.
Matt Abe, 3 Michelin star chef from Gordon Ramsay, restaurant Gordon
Yep.
Ramsay, went and just said, I need a stage.
Yeah. And went over to Meadowood and hung out
How
with us
long
for,
was he there with you?
I think he was there for a week.
Really?
The whole 5 days. And dude, he worked the entire day. Like we were coming in, you know,
That's incredible.
and just working all day. He was one of us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is so cool because I look at all the other 3-star Michelin CDCs and they don't have it in them to do that.
Daniel Hume didn't come stage.
No, Daniel didn't come stage, no. But neither did Gordon Ramsay, right?
Right,
But I think it's that echelon of like CDC, I think is honestly the position that I love the most.
Yeah.
Because once you move to executive chef, you're worried about the fucking laundry bills.
Yeah.
You know, chef de cuisine is that sweet spot where you only have to worry about the cuisine, right? And the food cost.
And a little bit of the problems that the cook's fighting, right? A little bit of the bullshit.
Definitely.
But when it gets too big to handle, you say,
Yeah,
go talk to
yeah, for sure.
yeah.
But I will say that the CDC position is different in different places.
Yeah.
Some places you're just a placeholder. You make recipes for the executive chef. Other places, and I think the best place to ever do CDC is the French Laundry.
Yeah.
Because,
Shout out to Dave Breeden.
yeah, shout out to Chef
He's
David.
Dave's a friend of mine.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think, you know, he's, I don't know how long he was at the French Laundry, 20 years or something like
Yeah,
that.
he was
Per se and French Laundry.
and French Laundry, yeah.
Yeah, and his last position was culinary director for French Laundry or director of fine dining for
Right,
French Laundry and per se. I mean, shout out to Dave. If you're listening, shout out to you.
For sure.
He's a stud.
And he passed the torch,
Yeah.
you know, and I think it's sad, right? But I'm excited for him to have a restaurant, or something of the like. I hope, right, that take some fucking couple years off, but like, bro, come back in the game because he's important to the fucking movement, right?
He's important, and his skills need to be his legacy of skill, right?
Right.
It needs to be passed on to the next generation because he knows shit.
Yeah,
he has techniques that, like sometimes I've seen some of the stuff that he's done. Maybe he sent me a photo of something that he's working on, and I'm looking at it like, I don't know, I can't reverse it. Like, I don't know how you did that.
right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's above my. Sometimes you look at food like, I know how to do that.
Yeah,
but sometimes I look at like, I don't know where to start. Like, how did he get there?
Well, he even like you have music artists for other music artists.
Yeah.
And he's like a chef's chef.
Yeah.
You know, when you go to his restaurant as a chef fan, like, and there's probably like 2 restaurants like that in every city.
Yeah.
Where all the chefs are going there for fucking, and most times that person doesn't have 3 Michelin stars.
Right.
But in this case, you do.
Well, and what's also, again, just to give Dave some props, is he's also super fit.
Yeah.
Super fit now. Like he's shined a light on like, hey, being healthy matters.
Yeah.
And healthy mindset, healthy physical. Like, he's done a really good job at promoting that as well.
It's not cool to be a dirtbag anymore like it used to be.
No.
Yeah,
to be unhealthy and all.
Yeah,
like, I'm glad that we're getting to this point in
for sure.
I was never a big drinker. So people would go out and like, hey, we're going to go party. It's like, I'm not a big drinker because I was an athlete when I was younger. So I never really picked up the drinking habit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that there's focus around getting healthy, lifting weights, running, whatever it is that you do. But like, it's not a race to the bottom.
Right.
It's like, hey, this industry, you need longevity. You need to be healthy, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Sleep better. I'm glad some of these health and wellness focus is shifting because it does catch up with you.
Well, I'll tell you, the cooks these days have something that we didn't have as cooks, and that's a hobby.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, if you asked me when I was coming up as a cook what else I'd like to do, I didn't have a fucking answer for you.
Be the best.
Yeah. To be the best, to cook.
My hobby is being the best chef.
Best is the job, right? And like, you're so hardcore into it that you don't even ask yourself which one. Exactly. I am nothing. I'm just ready to learn. But, I think that mentality helps when harnessed in the right way.
Yeah.
Because you could really give that energy to the wrong person, and they'll use it to your detriment.
Yeah.
And you won't make it very far in your career.
Yeah.
So that's another training that I think about. Like, how do we train chefs to know what a bad leader looks like? We talk about leadership all the time, and like, this is how you're a great leader. What's the traits of a bad leader?
Well, someone asked me so I do my Sunday Q&A, and someone asked me the other day, they said, do you prefer old school kitchens or new school kitchens? Like, well, you could learn something from both of them.
Definitely.
You learn something from both. Like, and they didn't really define what an old school kitchen versus a new school kitchen is. I think I know what they meant.
Right.
And I think what they mean by old school is like the yelling and screaming, and what they mean by new school is like not yelling and screaming, right? But because I do these Q&As weekly, I notice I get a lot of repetitive questions. How do I deal with this person? How do I deal with that? How do I deal with and like, I'm like, you just tell them. Like, you just tell them.
Exactly.
And that's what was good about the old school. There was no, how do I tell someone? You just told them.
Direct.
Yeah, like, you just tell them. Like, there is no, how do I tell them to do it, or how do I deal with some, like, you just deal with them.
Yeah.
That's it. There was no, you didn't need to figure it out because you just did it.
Yeah.
There was more directness. Now, maybe in that directness came like, don't do it this way, you fucking idiot.
Right.
Right. So maybe you just say, hey, do it this way. And then you drop the fucking idiot part. Right. So I think that we threw the baby out with the bathwater. We threw out the directness, but what we were really trying to get rid of was the insults.
Exactly.
The derogatory
the personal insults.
Yeah, that's what we were trying to get rid of. But what we got rid of was the directness.
Yeah. I'm good with yelling also. It's fucking loud. Like, it's fucking, I can't hear the hoods. I'm Puerto Rican, bro. We fucking
that's my normal setting.
Be emos. You know what I mean? Motherfuckers are like, what? But I'm like, and that's the thing about apologizing before service, right? Because you're not calling them fucking idiots.
Yeah.
But you are going to be like, let's fucking go, guys. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's more of a rah thing than you guys are going so slow because you're dumb. You
Right.
know? Like, we're going down together. I'm the captain of this ship.
Yeah.
It's not we're going down in service, so I'm going to just turn my wrath on you, which happens a lot, and it shouldn't, right? Because ultimately, who's at the helm? You are the captain.
Right.
It is your fault, regardless of if you did it or not.
Right.
You know?
And you know, a lot of chefs that you put chefs in this pressure cooker that says, I want my food to be great. And I care nothing more than I want to have a great service, but you know, the restaurant's full, the server forgot this, and
Right.
there's all these other things, and the food cost is not right, and the cooks are coming up to you and saying, oh, you know, I need Saturday off, and
Yeah.
you know, and I got all, and so's being mean to me, and you have this top and bottom compression,
The pressure mounts, yeah.
and then you're like, I just want to make sure that we have a great service, and all this other stuff from the top and bottom doesn't matter right now between 5 p.m. and 9 p.m., but you're dealing with it, and then so the pressure cooker gets to you, you say, bah,
Right.
and then, toxic chef.
Mm-hmm.
Completely ignoring the fact that it's not, yes, some chefs have crossed the line, but we're dealing with people. There's also toxic cooks. There's also toxic general managers. And there's also, as long as we're dealing with people, and this is a human resources business, culinary world, like until the day the robots take over, you're dealing with people, good people and bad people. They're not all bad chefs. And here's like the little bit of wisdom that every cook out there could learn from this is sometimes good chefs are also bad chefs.
100.
And sometimes bad chefs are also good chefs. Like they're people and they have a spectrum.
I was actually just going to say that, like, you know, the media does it the most. Like they'll put you on the highest pedestal.
Yeah.
But at the second that there's anything goes wrong, they will put you down as fast as they brought you up.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, I come back to, we need to control our narrative.
Yep.
And the narrative is truth. It's not hiding something or making it look better than it is. No, it's just accountability for ourselves and our chefs. Like if someone does, you know, maybe a CDC and an executive chef get in a fist fight on the line, you know, but maybe they're ready to talk about it. I would like to mediate that conversation because I just need to know, like, how two humans get to that extreme, but then are able to like come back and say, you know what? This relationship is worth more than our dumbass reactions in the heat of battle.
Right.
You know, and I feel like that right there will solve 50% of our fucking problems.
You ever see a fist fight in the kitchen?
Huh? I've seen a fist fight. I haven't seen it, but in the walk-in.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just like go in there and solve it yourself.
Yeah.
I've never physically, like, I made sure that I never physically pushed anyone out of the way or like did anything like that because I didn't like it when it was done to me.
Yeah. Like
A lot of times, like shoulder checking, like,
yeah.
you know, pushing you off the line.
Blind.
Yeah, just a little bit like
Yeah.
pushing you off the line to like,
Yeah.
this is how you do it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I will get all up in your face. You know what I'm saying? Not in like berating you in front of everybody, but like, what's going on?
Yeah.
You know, like, you're trying to be the best or what? Because this isn't the best.
So what was your strategy to bring?
I would mix.
like when you see a cook getting hot, how would you bring him back down?
For me, because I was in such intense kitchens, it's usually like, just go home and we'll deal with this tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't have time to really
Right.
have you cleaning in a mopey way for, you know, the end of the night lineup isn't going to be fucked up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Having like a bad energy person there, just like, you know, and then whoever he's friends with, they like feel bad for him. And it's like, why? He made a mistake. We talked about this. That's usually why a chef yells.
Yeah.
Because the shit has been talked about beforehand. And now it's different than what we talked about. And we all know that in a restaurant, you need consistency. So when that chain breaks, that's when the bad thoughts start coming in. I'm going to get killed on Yelp. They're going to, you know.
I'm gonna lose my job.
Exactly.
Right.
And then I used to tell the people at Charter Oak, the servers would be like, look, it might not, you know, when I would coach them and say, it might not be the most important thing to you, but it's the most important thing to the person whose name is on the door. And that's, you know, Chef Costo, right? So if we fuck with this, We're fucking with him and his family.
Right.
You know, his name. Right. And once they understand the gravity of that, then they're like, okay, it's all about perspective. And a lot of people don't have it because you haven't given it to them yet. You know what I mean? So
one of the things I used to do that to help bring the temperature down, if you can, right? 'Cause sometimes it's in the middle of service and you can't. But if there was ever a cook that was like throwing a pan or whatever, maybe it just, I could tell the situations. Say, hey, stop. I would both of you stop right now. And then I would get someone to cover the station if I could, or if it was an appropriate time, I'd say, let's go for a walk. Let's go outside. I'd always want to change the scenery. I would never want to do it in the kitchen. I would say, let's go outside, get some fresh air. Let's go smoke a cigarette, whatever their thing is, right? Take them out of the ring, so to speak, right? Have a conversation with them. And it was so amazing. As soon as you take them out, like, what's going on? And I would just let them talk. What do you mean? Like podcast and everything.
Yeah.
Like just get them go.
Get it out.
And it would be amazing how the tears would come out.
Right.
Like they're holding on to all this frustration from, they're tired. They've worked 6 days. They got called in on their day off. I've been working a double.
Girlfriend broke up with
sick. Cat is sick. And I'm just trying to do a good job.
Yeah.
And this person just, I don't need their bullshit. And
Right.
they keep telling me, they keep making these little and it's like, you just let it out, right? Did you really need to throw your pan?
Yeah.
But sometimes like just taking them out of the environment, give them a room to breathe, let them express, like let them, emotionally dump for a second.
Yeah.
And then sometimes that's all they needed. Like, and sometimes it's like, you hear all that, it's like, oh, you need a day off.
Right.
Like you learn as the leader, like, oh shit, like there's something that you could reflect that would help take care of your team. Like, hey, you know what? This person dumped on you, and then you just found out that, you know what, and they hate being called Billy because their name is Bill. Got it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just find out. And I think being able to do that as a leader, I think, is a skill. And so when, going back to what I was saying earlier, person asked, like, what's the difference between an old school kitchen and a new school kitchen? It's like, there's some value in the new school because it's like, there's a time and place to have these conversations, probably not in the middle of service on the line, but if you could take them out of the equation and have the conversation, find out who they are, find out what's bothering them, you might actually get a thank you from them and say, hey, thank you. No one's taken the time to hear my grievances.
My side of it.
Like maybe you don't even have to address any, they just need to be heard for a minute.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, most people just want to be heard, right? And it's very evident sometimes when I do a podcast with a chef that's never been heard. They just go off. You know what I mean? Because no one's ever taken the time to be like, hey, man, what do you think? Yeah. And that's why I always try to, like, I think the best leadership is you got to know who your team is. You got to know your enemy, but you got to know your team. Yeah. You have to know what makes them tick, what makes them excited. I never want anybody to do something they don't want to do. So, in the trajectory of a kitchen, maybe they don't want to work saute. Then maybe it's time to leave the restaurant. Let's figure out a plan to have you leave on a good note, knowing that right now you feel like you don't want to work that station. And maybe in 2 weeks I'll get an answer like, I was just afraid. But now that you put me on the station for one day for 4 hours when I didn't have any pressure on me, I think I could do that station now.
Right.
It's all about removing fears.
Right.
That's all we're doing our whole careers. It's like, first we're scared of, I can't cut brunoise. And then it's like, you can't make it to work on time because you're too hungover. And then the third one is like, I yelled at my cook. I'm a sous chef. They left the restaurant, and now the executive chef is pissed at me. And then you move on to, we can't afford the vegetables, so we're going to have to go, get a credit card and buy them at the store or something.
Have you ever worked with someone that has a tremendous amount of potential and you're like, wow, they're the one?
Yeah.
And then you put them on the station and then they don't go. Like you said, they get to that hard station. It's like, oh, all of a sudden, all that greatness just got blocked.
Right.
Have you ever worked with someone like that? It's like they had all the potential in the world and then they just got stuck.
Definitely. And I think that's because it's all goal setting.
Mm-hmm.
If your goal is to be the greatest chef in the world, you have to identify how you're going to do that. Or else you run the risk of someone when you're young telling you, if you know how to cook a steak perfectly, you are the greatest chef in the world. And that is your limit. That is what you think the greatest chef in the world is. And that's all you'll focus on, and you won't see what's after. So I think that's when people get in a rut, because they don't even see what's after that level.
So let me ask you. So I asked a lot of the guests on Chef's PSA.
Yeah.
Like, if you had a Mt.Rushmore of chefs,
Mm-hmm.
who's on your Mt.Rushmore? If you had to put 4 chefs up there.
Mt.Rushmore of chefs. Okay. Marco Pierre White, Robuchon. Just because I think it's incredible that he can have multiple 3 Michelin star restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
Marco Pierre White is because of the sheer will and energy to just dive 100% into something. It's like the most decisive thing you could do in your life. I actually remember a lot of people being mad at me when I was younger, like 22, 23. And they're like, yeah, well, you already know what you want to do. So, and it's like, damn, bro. Like, and at that time I was like, trust me, you don't want to do what I do.
Right.
Like, you don't
It's a curse, too.
It's a curse too. Like, it's not, and I'll tell you a little story. At Meadowood, I used to drive by the pool every day, and I used to look at these people out there just like fucking 1 p.m., just like not stressed out, just sleeping in this fucking 5-star, resort pool.
Millionaires and
I
billionaires.
hated them.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck you. And then years later, I'm dating a girl that has a membership or whatever. So now I'm in the pool.
At Meadowood?
Yeah. I'm like,
Are you still working there?
and I'm looking out the road, and I'm like, damn. I literally remember looking at me now, being like, fuck this person.
Yeah.
But now the perspective that I have is like, there's a time and a place for hard work, but there's also a time and a place to fucking not do fucking anything.
Right.
And you got to figure out that balance for yourself. I can't, I'm still trying, right?
Yeah.
But what is Mt.Rushmore? 4 chefs?
So 2 more.
4 chefs. I need 2 more. Gordon Ramsay.
Yep. Why Gordon?
Again, it's like sheer determination and not caring what anybody else thinks. Like, yeah, is he fucking personifying what we don't want to be anymore and whatever it is? But there's still a level of like truth to that, because this still happens,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody should strive for that, but I can't control the TV networks. The TV networks are putting that on there. Therefore, someone wants to push that narrative, and he doesn't seem to have a problem with it.
Right.
But again, I think like how I, hey, apologize beforehand. They probably do that nowadays on the TV show.
Yeah.
And just let people know, like, yeah, Gordon's going to yell at you. That's kind of why you're here anyway, to get a little.
You've seen the show before, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And now, we didn't talk about
be
this
raw.
before. There is an ecosystem now of celebrity chef, to the point where you can't just go on any chef show, win, and be a legend anymore.
No.
That's dead and gone. Like, now there is so many people whose job is, I'm a TV chef. I go on every season of Guy's Grocery Games, and I go on every season of this and that. So that's 3.
Yep.
And then I would say the last one is Ferran Adria.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's because he changed the game.
Yeah.
We all use xanthan gum now. Like, it's in every pantry.
You prehydrated in water?
I don't.
No.
Keep on, chef.
Yeah.
I like to live risky. You know what I mean? Yeah. Let's go, chef. As long as you better shear that shit in, bro. But I like to take chances, and like that's what I like about that. So I'll do hydrocolloids, but I'm gonna take a risk. And I know a lot of people out there right now will be like, well, how are you gonna take a risk on a scientific formula? It's like, bro, all cooking is a scientific formula.
Yeah.
And we take risks constantly.
So you talked about TV chefs.
Yeah.
I want to ask you this. How do you feel about, and think about how I want to ask this, because I want to make sure I'm not leading you a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you feel about your podcast? When you think about like ideal guests that you'd like to have on, would you get more excited to have, I'm just making this up, would you get more excited to have someone that is a current Food Network star as your guest? Or okay, so you take current big the biggest star on the Food Network, the biggest star on social media, right? Or a 3-star chef that you really respect. Let's say Matt from Gordon Ramsay, right? So which one would be your ideal guest?
The ideal is always the chef that's in the restaurant.
The one that's doing it.
Yeah, because the social media person is doing mainly social media, which I appreciate because I do it, but that's not my subject matter, although sometimes it comes up. The celebrity chef already has so much content out there that I think having a person like that on is more for my ego to say like, oh, I had Gordon Ramsay on or I had Matt Abe on, you know, then, I mean, Matt Abe that's not what I meant. Gordon Ramsay is really what I meant. Like having him on would be fucking amazing. But I don't know that it would, he does so much things, right? Nobody's going to uncover Sucio Talk with Gordon Ramsay on it.
Do you have like an ideal, like if you had like a dream, 2 or 3 chefs that are your dream to interview, who would they be?
I would definitely love to interview Marco Pierre White. I've heard his Oxford address, and he's just very well spoken. He remembers everyone's name, and it's I always want to be around people who I can learn from, and I want to be like, right? So for me, I want to talk like that.
Yeah.
I want to talk coherently, no just churning forward with messaging.
Very
my car.
lucid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's always amazing. I would love to have Daniel Boulud on.
Yep.
Thomas Keller, of course. Just because I want to know the struggles that they had.
Right.
Because the older chefs now are in their golden age, so all you hear is great things. And I'm not saying like I want scandal. No. I want to know the time that they went down on the hotline. I want to know the time that they cried in the car on the way home, or if that happened to them.
Yeah.
I want to know the time where they felt like they weren't going to make it in the industry, because we all have that feeling at some point or another, or whether it's a bad service or getting fired or whatever it is, right? What is their hardest struggle? And not in the sense of what it is today, which everybody asks them about. How did you build your business? I'm like, no. How did you deal with Corey Lee when he challenged you and was like, yo, I know more than you, when he was becoming your CDC? How do you get the respect of people who are ready to do their own thing? All these things are very valuable, and I don't think they're asked too much of these people.
Yeah.
And that's where I want to come in. Also, like, what's your favorite sex position, Thomas Keller?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do you hit it from the back? Or do you know what I'm saying? Like, shit, ain't nobody ever asked him that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just interesting.
I'm not interested in his favorite sex.
Chef, it's fucking Sucio. What do you want? We're all living, breathing fucking beings.
Yeah, I get it. I'm trying to get that image out of my mind.
It's already. I'm not saying that. I pictured him in a chef coat, chef.
Oh shit. Oh man. Yeah.
Where does André Natera go in Austin?
I go to if I want to have a drink, I go to Prelude, Matt Peters' place.
Okay.
I love it. The bites are good. You can smoke a cigar there, which I like cigars.
Oh, dope.
It's beautiful, beautiful art. I like art, so the artwork is great. The vibe is good. The cocktails are strong, right? And you know how it is with chefs. Like, they roll out the hospitality for you. Matt's a great host.
Yeah.
So he's a good friend. He's a great host. So Prelude is, one of my favorites. I really like Hestia from the Emmer and Rye group. So
yeah,
they got an empire. And I don't want to single out. They have a lot of great restaurants, but I really like Hestia.
Yeah.
I like the food that they do. I really like Kanji, which is also part of their group.
Yeah, I've been there.
It's good. I like
really good.
I like the food, like, very flavorful. I go to Fermin's spots. He has Este and Suerte. I like them both. I like the brunch at Suerte. If someone's coming from out of town, I said let's go eat at Este. Is also frequently. I'm trying to think.
Where are we going tonight?
So tonight we're going to Birdie's, which I want to say was Esquire magazine's best restaurant in America at one point. I think Esquire, one of those lists, like,
right,
best restaurant in America. So we're going there tonight. We're going to Oko. Harold's restaurant with Paul Key, and really good also. Yeah, those are some spots, and I don't want to. Olame's good. I haven't been in a while, but the times that I had been there, I thought it was really good. I used to go to Odd Duck pretty frequently, but barbecue, like I talked about, I used to go to the barbecue literally fussing all the time. Having one Michelin star barbecue every day for lunch for a while, but so those are some spots. Like you come to Austin, some other underrated spots. Elizabeth Street Cafe. I used to go there for brunch. Here's a wild story that I've never shared.
Okay, here we go.
Never shared, and it's almost not believable. And I might change it up a little bit because I don't want stuff to get out there, right?
Heard.
I met this guy randomly. I met him when I was buying shoes, and we struck up a conversation. And he was a CEO of major company, billionaire CEO, like big money.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what? I like you. I want to take you out and mentor you. And he took me to brunch every Sunday. We met at Elizabeth Street Cafe, and we'd sit down and have breakfast, and he would mentor me every single day for about a year.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But this guy was like big baller CEO,
Right.
billionaire.
Do you still talk to him to this day?
No. Not because we had a falling out, but he moved to Japan, did his own thing.
Why did he choose you? Did you ever ask him?
It's his personal story to share, so I don't want to give away.
Yeah.
But he basically decided that he wanted to spend his years in an altruistic. He felt like he spent so many years, as he used to tell me, he's like, I'm a CEO, I'm a criminal. Like, he's like, I'm a shark. Like, he's like, I haven't been a good person most of my life. I've done.
Yeah. To get to that status, you have to be.
Yeah. And he would explain that to me.
People don't get it.
And he said, you know what? At this point in my life, I really, like, he had an epiphany moment where he just wanted to give back. Like he was in his redemption arc.
Right.
And he had resigned from all his CEO positions, and he just wanted to travel the world and help people.
Right.
Very strange. Like, it was one of those things.
You're like, are you fucking me?
Like, and I had to do my research to make sure, like, I wasn't,
Right.
Is this a real person? Is this someone? But once I researched, I'm like, oh, this is all legit.
This is legit.
This is legit. He is who he says he is.
Yeah.
And he took me to brunch every Sunday. We'd go to Elizabeth Street Cafe because that was his favorite restaurant. And he would just talk, and I would listen, and I would ask questions, and he would say, you need to do this, you need to do that. He was planting seeds that now I see coming forward with Chef's PSA. Because he was one of those guys, like, just do it. It's easy. Just do it. Like, everything was just do it. Like, don't be scared. This is what you got to do. Just do it.
Right.
Yeah, I know you were asking me about restaurants. Elizabeth Street Cafe is one of those restaurants that has a special place to me because of that. But that's just a weird story. Like, I have a lot of those really weird stories, and that was one that's like, this person came into my life, and I took full advantage of it, and I hope he got something out of it. Like, I hope he felt that he helped me, and I'll tell him if he's listening now. I don't know if he does, but yes, you did. Like, you truly helped me. It's just weird. Yeah, that's
crazy.
It was a crazy story. Like, when I would tell people, I was like, is that true? And I'll tell you stuff off.
Yeah.
It'll make the story even weirder. But yeah, it was just a weird story.
But that's why I like that's the true pirate nature of a chef.
Yeah.
So you're buying shoes, and some dude walks up to you and says, hey, fucking, I got money. I'll teach you some stuff. And you're like, yeah, cool. I'm not doing anything. That's literally the energy that I want to be on my whole life.
Yeah.
Just be curious as fuck and just go with it. Like, every chef at a restaurant or who you cook for, like, those are random people.
Yeah.
That you're just letting into your house. Hey,
and
come
they
on.
might take interest in you.
Exactly.
And you might get a mentor that you didn't know you were going
Exactly. And that's another thing, too. And Matt Abe is a good example of this with the Stars. Like, you're never too old to have a mentor also. Definitely make sure that person is older than you. Don't be.
Yeah. At least
Don't be having exactly. Don't be having younger mentors like, oh yeah, he's teaching me. That'd be weird, huh?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, there's something you can learn from everyone, and I think that chef podcasts are the fucking future. And sometimes I get down on myself about, the numbers and the whatever, but it's like, dude, if you're doing a weekly podcast, you're more successful than 80% of all podcasts.
And you're influencing the generation with the voices that they need to hear. And this is something that I realize like I have a responsibility to.
Yeah.
Okay? I did Chef's PSA to start mentoring cooks and chefs. Like hopefully cooks become better cooks, chefs become better chefs. But ultimately, I want them to see that like maybe you don't have a mentor. Maybe you're in the middle of nowhere and there's only 3 chefs in your city and you don't know where to go. Like if you don't know who to listen to Sucio talk.
Yeah.
Listen to Chef's PSA. Like we will show you behind the curtain.
Yeah.
No one else is telling you.
Exactly.
And we'll bring in other chefs so you could listen to the conversation. You'll find a lot of commonalities. You'll listen to the struggles. You'll get good advice. You'll get bad advice. You'll hear things you like here. But you know what? We want to make you a part of the conversation. We want to make it inclusive for you so everyone could listen. And like if you want good chef advice, go to good chefs, right? Listen to these podcasts. Quit talking to the knucklehead line cook that's right next to you that's telling you this sucks and everything's bad. And it's like, he's only going to tell you what's bad. That's obvious. We're going to tell you how to fix it.
Right.
We're going to tell you how to, what does everyone say? Like, get out of the matrix.
Yeah. Dude, I went to a shaman retreat. We'll wrap it up after this one, but the shamans, like we were deep in a mushroom trip and he just stops everything and he goes, the job of a shaman is to show you the beauty of the world in all its ugliness. There's a lot of bad shit out there.
Yeah.
And so for all the negative cooks and the negative chefs out there that are just focusing on the bad, you need to start changing that shit.
Yeah.
Because we owe it to the future generation to not be the old bitter cook, and to give them less and less examples of what not to do. Because you know how it is, man.
Yeah.
Most of the restaurants you'll work at, a lot of the knowledge that they teach you is what not to do.
Right.
And then you start, going later in your career and getting into better places and this and that changes. But, you really got to know, like, what is your goal? It can't be just to be a great chef anymore.
Right.
Because that's only for you. How are you going to give back? That's what a chef does.
Yep. Well, Chef, where can people find you?
Fucking Chef Sucio Talk podcast. You can find it on suciotalk.com. Also, check me out on Spotify. That's the video version. Apple Podcasts has the audio-only version. Chef Cook Hotline, 510-463-1165. Hit that up, and you can regale me with stories that I'll read on the podcast, questions, advice, whatever you need, shout-outs. We're here for the industry, and we're here to do it, so let's go, baby.
All right, let's go grab some dinner.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Hell yeah.